Hello, everybody. This video I meant to kind of do back about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but life just kind of has this funny way of pulling you in, and you have these plans to do things, and then life has other plans for you and kind of puts all these different things on your plate and more than you can eat. Hey, you've heard of those all-you-can-eat buffet as well. You know, life kind of gives us those more-than-you-can-eat buffets where it puts all these things on our plate, and somehow we're supposed to digest them all and get through it. But by the time we are ready to get up from the table, we recognize that the thing that we were supposed to, eat several weeks ago has gone cold, right? And let's hope this hasn't gone cold yet, because this is a really interesting piece of information, I think. And what I'm here to talk to you about today is not food, not about things going cold, not about having all sorts of things on your plate, not about my personal drama or anything like that. I'm here to talk to you about the great cosmic drama that's going on instead. And that great cosmic drama that's going on in the sky now that Rahu has entered Magha Nakshatra back around the 25th of April. And what is so special about that? Well, Ketu is in Shatabhishak Nakshatra, where it's been since the end of November last year. And still you're going, well, I still don't get what's so special about that. Well, associated with Magha Nakshatra is the planet Ketu. And associated with Shatabhishak Nakshatra is Rahu. So basically, Rahu and Ketu are in nakshatras that are associated with each other. And it creates quite this great karmic pull. I mean, take a look at the world around you, right? Look at how things are just getting more and more intense. Look at how there are some people that you feel really need to listen, but you can tell they never will listen and never learn their lesson. And that's one of the things I'm here to talk to you about today. Any of you who have, had children or maybe still have children, or even if you haven't had children, well, maybe you remember being a child yourself, right? And sometimes children have this funny way of not listening to what parents have to say to them, right? Sometimes you can say it over and over and over again, and they're just going to disregard everything you say. It's like that old analogy, like sometimes a child will touch, like a hot burner on the stove, right? And the parent might, say over and over again, don't touch that, it's hot, don't touch that, it's hot. And then the next thing you know, the child is trying to touch it, and they're finding out for themselves that it's hot. Okay. And that's part of what I'm here to talk to you about today. Not like burning your hand or anything like that, but more about how some things we just have to learn for ourselves, right? Sadly enough, experience really is the best teacher. And sometimes we need to go through a certain series of events to really and truthfully understand something. And the funny thing about it is when we first enter that process, we think that, don't tell me not to do that. I know, better than that. I'm smart enough to deal with it. I'll just go ahead and do this. Everything is going to be absolutely okay. You don't know anything. Just go away, right? Go away. I said go away, right? We all have one person, people, or even one aspect of ourselves that we do that to. That's the concerning bit, huh? But it happens. And then next thing you know, that very thing that either we were warning ourselves about or somebody else was warning us about, we find going on in our life, right? What do you do then, right? Do you, self-flagellate, right? And, give yourself a really hard time over it? Not really wise. Or do you perhaps recognize that, well, you know what? sure, maybe I might have been able to avoid this difficulty, but I went through the difficulty. And so if you've gone through the difficulty already, you might as well just kind of go, okay, you know what? I can chalk that up to experience. And I have learned from this particular set of circumstances, something that just doesn't work and isn't going to work, at least for right now, or maybe for the rest of my lifetime. Sometimes it really depends on what set of circumstances you're dealing with, which is perhaps why you have found yourself in this particular set of circumstances anyway, because, hey, you just don't know, right? And life is difficult enough to navigate. And so there you go. You find yourself right smack dab in the middle of the you-know-what, and I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not even going to say it, but let's just say you need a shovel to get rid of it. And you find yourself right smack dab in the middle of it, and you don't know what to do. So what do? Sometimes you just kind of come up with the best thing you can come up with, and you move forward, right? And, let's talk about another thing while we're on this particular subject. Then I'll explain a little bit more of this particular energy. Let's talk about something else while we're on the subject. Let's talk about ego, right? And how in spiritual circles, it's also wonderful to go, you got to get rid of the ego. You got to get rid of the ego. And sure, there's a degree of truth about that, right? But that ego, there's a certain aspect of it that's very necessary on a certain level. Sure, when you are ready to get rid of the ego will be completely gone and eliminated, and then you'll, you'll merge back into the Supreme, so to speak, right? But while you're going through that experience of being here, trying to sort through right from wrong, good from bad, and understanding how some things can be bad in one moment and then really good in the next, you need an anchor to kind of keep you here. And that's one of the positive purposes that ego serves, is it helps you to be anchored. It helps you to remain strong while you're navigating this experience. But when ego goes awry, we end up getting into these spaces where we can't even desire to listen to the little juicy tidbit of information that the universe is just dropping right on our lap in front of us, right? We just ignore it. We go the other direction. And that's when it seems like life goes wrong. So why is your life seemingly going wrong? Why is everything getting so crazy on the planet, right? Why do we have all these people in power who just do whatever the hell they want to do? Right? Why is that going on? Right? What's even crazier is, why are we letting that go on? But anyway, that's another subject, okay? But no, maybe that's precisely the subject, because that fits in absolutely perfectly with this particular transit of Rahu in Magha Nakshatra. Magha Nakshatra is sometimes symbolized by a throne, sometimes symbolized by a palanquin, which used to be used to carry nobility through the village. So Magha Nakshatra has a certain tonality of royalty and regality to it. Okay, and we're going to come back to that. And let's talk for a little bit about Shatabhishak Nakshatra. Shatabhishak Nakshatra, one of the things that is connected to it symbolically is a lotus flower. And so that's the development of true regality, right? Then there's the physical manifestation of it, which is the person on the throne here. There's something that's pretty interesting about that, isn't it? There's the spiritual kingship or queenship, and then there is the material kingship and queenship. And somewhere in the middle, poof, right? That's where we are. Okay, and we're trying to figure out our particular set of circumstances. Let's look at some more symbolism with this, right? Shatabhishak Nakshatra is connected to Varuna. Varuna is many different things. Varuna is considered the god of the oceans. Varuna is the creator of cosmic law, so to speak. And here's something really interesting that I like about Varuna. It's said about Varuna that the moon moved by Varuna's will alone. That's something really meaningful. The moon moved by Varuna's will alone. So the moon is our manas, our sensory mind, our consciousness, right? So that moves and exists by Varuna alone. Now, interestingly enough, Shatabhishak Nakshatra is known for creating all these different scenarios in our lives that are seemingly, utterly, absolutely confusing. We think things are one way, and they turn out to be absolutely the other. Right? So that last statement that we were saying about the moon makes perfect sense. We go through this illusion of creation, right? And so you've got Ketu, the planet, that, on many levels, well, it serves a lot of different purposes, right? But on many levels, it sorts out where you have been. Right? It's associated with where you come from. It's also associated with what makes you feel secure. Well, on one level, you feel somewhat secure dealing with this confusion that is life, right? You feel somewhat secure maybe having somebody else to sort it all out for you, right? Maybe you feel somewhat secure with your life just being absolutely confusing because, hey, it's always been that way. That might be where you come from. What's the other purpose of Ketu? Ketu gives us the capacity to integrate all the experiences that Rahu's bringing to us. And what is Rahu doing? Rahu creates all these really difficult, confusing sets of circumstances, right? It pulls us in a certain direction, gets us involved in all these things where we think we know where things are going, but they go absolutely in another direction. Well, Ketu helps us to sort through that. So Ketu in Shatabhishak Nakshatra is related to sorting through all the confusion that's going on in your life, integrating it, learning more deeply who you are, learning more deeply those lessons that you have learned before, but maybe you kind of forgot. Or maybe those lessons that you completely ignored, but now you're recognizing that you need not ignore them, or it's not going to serve you to ignore them anymore. You have to pay attention to them, right? So that's one of the things that Ketu's position in Shatabhishak Nakshatra is doing. Shatabhishak Nakshatra is also connected to a race of beings, or a few different races of beings, who are responsible for the evolution of humanity, the world at large. The sets of circumstances that we're going through help to guide us through that evolutionary process, and they happen for a reason so that we can grow. Well, Shatabhishak Nakshatra is connected with energies that work on a higher level in order to guide the consciousness of humanity. Right? And that fits in with the Varuna explanation. That really fits nicely. And so here we have this manas, the sensory mind, or the moon, right? That goes through all these experiences of consciousness. Sometimes we're switched on. Sometimes we are switched off, okay? Right? For lack of a better way to say it. But now let's talk about Rahu, directly opposite in Magha Nakshatra. Magha is connected to the Pitris, the ancestral deities, right? Well, their job is to work much more intimately with the individual here on the material plane, the individual, the experiences the individual's going through, right? Whereas the forces associated with Shatabhishak Nakshatra kind of operate on a higher level, the Pitris operate on a more individual level, in order to guide the individual along their particular path. So they integrate the experiences that they're going through so that they learn. And here's a key point, though. The Pitris, or the ancestral deities, don't interfere in the affairs of their descendants, right? Unless it's absolutely necessary. They're kind of like guardian angels that only step in and kind of amplify their message when they really, really have to. Otherwise, they want the individual to be strong enough to figure it out themselves. So here we have this whole experience that you're likely going through, that I'm going through, that we're all going through on a group, collectively conscious level or collectively unconscious level, where we're navigating a set of circumstances, going through experiences where on one level, ultimately, we really just have to learn by our own particular experiences. And that has to happen. But on the other level, we also need to not ignore those lessons that have come before, right? And we need to not ignore the messages that are all around us, which are there to guide us on our path, right? Magha Nakshatra is the first of the Tamasic Nakshatras. It represents the point where the soul is becoming fully encased in its material sheath, right? It has this memory of, having been somewhere else before, right? Having been completely immersed in the absolute, right? And now it's here. It has that memory of divinity, but now it's here on the material level. It's somewhat upset at having left that area and having to kind of try to find its way back home. So feeling like it's kind of, gotten the cosmic boot, so to speak, and put down here on the planet, sometimes it just goes, well, you know what? Who needs you, right? I can handle all this myself. But the fact of the matter is, you're here for a reason. Like those little children, you're here to grow up. You're here to go through those experiences so that you evolve, right? And just remember, there's somebody who may want to help you, right? There's somebody who may want to give you guidance with the experience that they have, right? Who is that person? Well, on one level, it could be another person. It could be however you relate to the infinite. It could be the infinite, right? Whatever name you choose to relate to that by. It could be a dog, right? It could be nature. It could be anything else that's really trying to teach you a lesson. So if we are all kind of gathered together in this one greater whole, really, isn't that other connected to a certain aspect of you? Right? So why block yourself out? Okay. That other who's trying to give you information is that part of your own mind too, that you just kind of ignoring your own wisdom, right? Ignoring your own soul and getting stuck in all the drama that you're going through. So as a collective, what do we need to do, right? We need to wake up. Can we do that all at once? Well, it'll probably happen gradually, step by step. And in a certain area of your life, right? What are you willing to sacrifice for? What are you feeling that you just can't let go of, no matter how much you're told that you need to let go of something? Even though you might be getting this little hint that you need to be doing something else, what path are you continuing down against your better judgment? Those are all the things that we need to take a look at. On a collective level, we also need to take a look at pride in culture, pride in where we come from, and how we tend to block out others simply because of their culture, or simply because of their difference, or simply because they don't fit in with our group, or simply because they have different beliefs than us, right? So look at the separation that you create in your life and look at how you instead might be able to create unity. That is part of the balance that this period of time is asking you to try to achieve, right? And how long does this transit continue? Well, until about the 21st of July, this transit will be going on. At that point, Ketu will leave Shatabhishak Nakshatra and enter Dhanishta Nakshatra. So between now and the 21st of July, a really intensive period. Try to pay attention. Try to do your best with it. The better you do with it, you've got this really profound opportunity for, moving a lot of karma, growing and evolving. And if you would like a little bit of help with that, I would like to direct you to my astrological services page, where there are a vast range of astrological services available, and we can take a look at where this particular transit is taking place in your chart. That's going to do it for a look at Rahu's transit through Magha Nakshatra and Ketu through Shatabhishak Nakshatra, going on until the 21st of July, 2017. Until next time, please take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.